Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me. This video is coming out for the Tula Verde flexibility and strength regimen. New version out, better, stronger, faster, version 1.0. I am treating the first video and the first regimen really more as like a beta version. I feel like I've made some developments that I am here to share with y'all today. So thanks for joining. It is December 31st, 2021. It is a new year tomorrow. I'm ready for it. I think we all are. So this video is going to be talking about biomechanics and fibrocartilage and knee adaptation. Just to touch again, my name is Jeff Slaughter. I'm a doctor. I've done 3.5 years of OBGYN residency. I played some junior college soccer back in the day, and I have left my residency training in order to pursue happiness and wellness. And what that has led me to is this space where I am, working on my body. And I'm here to share with you guys. I have no financial disclosures. I have no institutional affiliations. So at the moment, I am studying for to become a certified strength and conditioning specialist. This is a certification that is provided and administered through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. This is the textbook that I am reading through, and I am gaining wisdoms from this textbook as well as other things that I'm exposed to in order to optimize my program and regimen so that I can share it with y'all and get you to that body happiness that we're all trying to achieve and strive for, whether that's in athletic and sports peak performance or just longevity and not living in pain. So I envision this being a bit of a lecture series where as I acquire information and then if there's any changes to the regimen or just in general, I feel like knowledge is power, and if you can understand what's going on with your body, then you can be more invested in making it work right. And so that's the purpose here. Is I'm going to be distilling some things down to share with y'all, so that you can use that knowledge and then you can help me develop this thing. So here's the new and improved regimen. I'll have another video that will be available that goes through kind of the logic of the progression and what I've changed about it. But that's not for this video. All right, so let's dive in. Biomechanics, the basics. I showed this video or this little GIF in a previous video, where basically the physics of what's happening in this seesaw and this person flying off is what can happen in every articulation joint of any part of your body. So here is the textbook stuff on that. Each joint articulation is basically a lever, and there's forces that act on it from either side. And the force from the resistance, which is basically this ball, and then the weight and the mass of that ball has to essentially equals the mass and the force on the right side of this lever. And there's a fulcrum, which is where that's the pivot point. And in this balance, that mass times the force of the resistance, this ball, is equal to the mass times the force of this plank on the right side, and that's why it's balanced. And in movement, we manipulate this to move. So there's a variety of types of joints that the body has evolved to have, the human form, and they're classified by first class, second class, third class levers. I don't think it's particularly important to go into the details of this, other than like you can the body has been manipulated to and built so that you optimize your ability to move weight, move mass, have load, have tension in a variety of ways. So the forearm elbow is a first class lever, the ankle is a second class lever, where basically the point of where you're applying the force in the toe is not the area that the muscle is acting, which is the calf, which is in some of the the muscles of the foot, but really the calf is where you're putting most of your load and tension, and that's not really in the same place as the ball of your foot. And then third class lever, they're talking about in the forearm here, in a biceps contraction, where the force of the weight is way out on the right in your hand, and then the contractile force of the bicep is actually up towards the shoulder, and that's a different type of way that we manipulate weight. And then this is interesting, and people that lift weights would understand this, but when at the bottom of your bicep curl versus at the middle of your bicep curl versus at the top of your bicep curl, the amount of force that is felt on your bicep it changes, and it is strongest and highest at the midway point, when your elbow, the weight is perpendicular to your bicep, and people experience that when they're lifting weights. So that's something that's worth thinking about. And this is basically trying to show that depending on how far away the joint is, the joint from the muscle and the that's moving the joint, that dictates how much force is needed or felt to move the weight. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then as far as this is a cool chart that basically it breaks up flexor and extensor muscles. So I think an easy way to think about it is just like your bicep is a flexor, your tricep is an extensor. And then it looks at eccentric versus concentric contraction. So concentric contraction is the muscle belly is shortening. And then eccentric is that the muscle is lengthening. So as you do a bicep curl, you're having concentric contraction in your bicep, but you're having eccentric contraction in your tricep as a stabilizer. And then the same is for tricep contraction, where the opposite is true. And so of note is that for like flexors have more can generate more force than extensors per like unit muscle unit, but it's in a concentric contraction where you actually have less force that muscle can generate, and you can actually generate more force in the eccentric portion of your movement. So like it's actually the stabilizer in a movement that is generating the most force, and that's something that I did not know, which is something that can be manipulated, and that's a cool concept. All right, on to fibrocartilage and myofascial adaptation. I want to go back to this great illustration that was shown in one of my previous videos, and this is out of this this textbook. Pretty much all these images are out of that textbook that I'm studying from. But what I had mentioned before is that there is cartilage, fibrocartilage, that invests every unit of organization of this muscle, all the way down to the sarcomere, where the sarcoplasm is, which is just like that's pretty small. So that tissue can be manipulated, and that's what I'm trying to do. One of the things I'm trying to do in this regimen. So this is a paper that was published in 2000, titled Mechanobiology of Tendon Adaptation to Compressive Loading Through Fibrocartilaginous Metaplasia. I'll break that down. What is the mechanics and the biology that tendons adapt by in basically movement, which is compressive loading, and then through metaplasia. So metaplasia is a term that describes cells literally changing from one type to another type. This is what happens in a large amount of cells of your body. I mean, when you're talking about like stem cells, like this is kind of the thing that we're talking about, where cells can be one thing and then they change into another thing. And that's what they're saying is happening in your fibrocartilage. And the conclusion of this kind of paper, I'm going to read this last little bit here, because the rest is just kind of extraneous. Tendons adapt to cyclic compressive hydrostatic stresses through fibrocartilaginous metaplasia, protecting tendons from high compressive stresses and strains that could disrupt their extracellular matrix organization. This adaptation enables tendons to function effectively for an entire lifetime without sustaining excessive mechanical damage due to cyclic compressive loading. So what this paper is saying is that fibrocartilage changes. You literally get more of the cartilaginous type of cells. They change into that in a tendon under repeated compressive loading, aka movement, aka positive stress on a joint. And it actually grows around the core portion of the tendon, so that it just adds more protection. You just bulk up the tendon. It gets more stretchy, more elastic, and you protect the stuff that you don't want to tear. Macro trauma. Okay, muscle. This is looking at that kind of, this guy's in a, we're doing a squat here, with a weight, and then zooming in on this thing called the myofibril. So we're going down to like the smallest unit of muscle, and this is a thing I had to learn, oh my god, so many times in human physiology back in undergrad. So muscle is very segmented, and you look at this sarcomere. This is like the unit of muscle or muscle contraction actually happens, and in that unit there's two main proteins. One's called actin, one's called myosin. That's down at the very bottom left of this illustration. And what happens is with energy, ATP, unit of energy, these myosin kind of claws, they hook into the actin filaments and they move against each other, and that's how you get muscle contraction. And this is a representation of that. There's all these I bands, A bands, whatever, M lines, not important, Z lines, whatever, blah, 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 blah. The important thing to know is that like it moves, and that's how you make muscles contract. And this is another thing, but basically like at the resting state, there's max potential for that myosin and actin to interact. And then when you're fully contracted, there's little potential left because they're right at the end, right? But resting, you're here, and then fully contracted, you're right here. Okay. Okay, this is another crucial thing that I think is happening with our bodies, is that this is battery electricity. There's parallel circuits and circuits in series. And when you adapt your fibrocartilage tissue, and now you're stretching your muscle, and now you're adding length, potential length to the muscle, you can add muscle sarcomeres in series. When you are doing these, powerlifting moves, any sort of muscle adaptation, hypertrophy that's happening without lengthening the potential length of the muscle, you're going to add muscle in parallel. Now, how that happens, or just the math of that, is that when you add in series, it is very, very additive. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, you are going to make serious gains. When you add in parallel, so stacking muscle on top of each other, like in this battery circuit, you're going to add fractionally, so like 1 over whatever plus 1 over whatever plus 1 over whatever. You're still adding, but you're not getting the silly gains that you get from adding in series. And when you look at the different types of muscle organization that is present in the human body, I'll blow this up. Looking at, I think the rectus femoris right in the middle here. It's one of your major quadriceps muscles. That's bipennate, right? So comparing that versus like the deltoid, for instance, which is M, or R, the gluteus medius, where they have radiating kind of, it's like more fanned out. Adding length in something like the quadriceps, the rectus femoris, is going to be easier. Like, look at the tendons. That's where you pull. That's where you're able to get that very significant increase in length. And then you stack muscle on that in series. You're going to have silly gains. And you can think about any muscle this way, that, like for instance, the deltoid, being able to articulate it at the ends of its range of motion to maybe get this radiating pattern to fan out a little bit more and add in series that way. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, now this is exciting stuff. Manipulation of the patella and the quadriceps tendon, okay? This paper is an amazing paper. Evolution of the patellar sesamoid bone in mammals. All right, this is out of Canada. Thank you, Canada. Thank you, Montreal, Quebec, and then the UK, the Royal Veterinary College. They go into the evolutionary history of the patellar bone. And the patella is fascinating in that it develops from the tendon of the quadriceps. That attaches from the quadriceps muscles, all 4 of them. There's 4 of them. They fuse their tendons into one tendon, and then that wraps over your knee and inserts on the tibia, the front of the tibia, at the very top, which is your shin bone. Now, there's a lot going on in the knee. You can see here, this is all the stuff that just wrecks athletes, people as they get older. I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem. We have not figured this out yet. So, this is, you see the patella on the left. Blow this up. That didn't do much. But the patella, that, like I said, it develops embryologically. So, like in the womb, you start off with just this tendon, right, that stretches from your quadriceps muscle into your tibia, and then that patella portion ossifies, turns into bone, from that cartilage. All right. Metaplasia. Look at us using our words that we learned. And then you'll see here all the stuff that you got to protect in the knee. I mean, ACL, PCL, MCL, meniscus, all the stuff, lots of stuff that goes wrong. Now, tetrapods, four-legged creatures. This is what the paper looks at, evolution of tetrapods and the patella in tetrapods, and found some very fascinating things. One is that it pops up in evolutionary history all the time. They think that it's actually evolved on 5 separate occasions where you developed an ossification in the hind leg of a four-legged animal. They even show that it's even evolved in the elbows of rare tetrapods. Fascinating. You look at the directionality of all the movement that happens for this lizard, and there's a lot of movement. There's a lot that goes on there. And you look at that leg and that bend. Like that bend looks familiar. That looks like an ATG bend, doesn't it? And you know that lizard can jump. For real. Okay. This is an ancestral phylogenetic tree where this is evolutionary biology stuff. Do a lot of this stuff in school, but you have a common ancestor that's on the far left of this chart, and then there's speciation that happens, and then speciation. And over here, what they've shown is they're looking at tetrapods, and the colors, they indicate, whether there's patella or not. So blue means ossified patella, so bony patella. Yellow, fibrocartilage patella, so like just a tendon. And then, it is a ball of tendon that is the patella. Everyone, these have tendons there. And then black is absent patella. So they're like, and these are for extinct groups of animals. So you're like, okay, well, like some of them had it, some of them didn't. They all went extinct. Now, this big guy, I hope this isn't too overwhelming. I'll try to just point out the salient points. So same coloration here. Blue means bony patella. Yellow means fibrocartilage patella. And then black means absent. And gray means they don't have data. What you will see, and that is fascinating, is that there are no tetrapods that are alive today that have lost the patella. Everything is blue out here, and there's some yellow, and we're like at the bottom here is time. We're talking like hundreds of millions of years, but like currently, the 0 MYA right here. There's nothing around that doesn't have a patella that's either bony or cartilaginous. That's like, that's impressive. So like, what does that mean? You use it or you lose it. It is evolved 5 different times. It is super important. The only things that are around still have a patella. Obviously, some creatures that had a patella did go extinct because there's a lot of reasons why you go extinct. But the fact that they're all have patellas, every four-legged creature has a patella, and then like that means we can manipulate this thing and we can use it to our advantage, as all these animals have shown, all these four-legged creatures. And so I will tell you that in this regimen, we're gonna be using the patella. So phase 0, this is for people that or this is beginning stuff. Like all this is assisted body weight stuff, so that literally anybody can enter into this regimen, just like ATG. same kind of deal. You're a 7-year-old, you have, chronic arthritic knees, you can do this. You've had multiple knee surgeries, you can do this, okay? We are starting off your basic regimen with the elevated ATG split squats in 3 different leg slots, so that you can work out all 4 of those muscles so that in the quadriceps, so that you can have bulletproof knees, okay? That is important. And then we're really going to take off with it in phase 1. All right, this is the phase that I kind of entered into, and I think I want any athlete to enter into, to regain balance in their body and focus on some things. And we got 3 exercises where the knee and the patella, we're gonna strengthen those, and you're gonna be bulletproof, and you will not tear your ACL, you will not tear anything, and you're gonna jump to the roof. So the ATG guy, this is what he does. That is what I can do now after 3 weeks on this program. And, I haven't watched any of the newer content yet, but, there's an emphasis on the tibialis anterior, the shin muscle in the ATG system, that although it's helpful for jumping, my argument is that it's the patella. It is this stretch, this incredibly acute angle where you're stretching, you're doing the fibrocartilage metaplasia all up in that tissue, and then that's what's allowing you to jump to the roof. It's not the tibialis anterior. That's my thoughts. But there's YouTube, testimonials from the ATG system. This guy went from 25-inch vertical to 32-inch vertical in 6 months. I mean, this dude went from a 19 to a 42-inch vertical. I mean, this is real, and I'm telling you that this Tula Verde regimen, because we're thinking about evolutionary history, we're thinking about biomechanics, we're gonna break records with this notion. And you're gonna do it pain-free, all pleasure. It's just stretching. It's no big deal, right? And anybody can do it. All right, time for acknowledgements, because it's all about gratitude, and it's all about thanking people that have helped you out. So here we go. My boy, this is Diego Marroquin. Played soccer with him at Santa Rosa Junior College. Great guy. Newly minted men's head soccer coach at Holy Names. And this is the guy who listened to me. And, not a lot of people listen these days, right? He listened. He's a real one. And, just so y'all know, at Holy Names, I'll come by free and just teach, fill in, because this is the real deal. I know it. I'm showing my body, and I'll show you guys how these 3 weeks have gone. It's been impressive. And so Diego got me in touch with Bryant Shakiri, who's a strength and conditioning sports performance instructor, teacher, coach at Holy Names as well. And he owns a couple gyms. He's a real one. We talked. He listened. Looking forward to working with Bryant for sure. So Cody Butcher at St. Mary's, I must have put out at least 100 LinkedIn messages, emails, athletic departments, high school, college, pro, to show, to try to tell people this is for real. I would love to tell you, to share this knowledge, because in the end, I'm just trying to end suffering and promote happiness, and I'm doing it. I'm starting with the body. So Cody responded back to me. We just talked for 45 minutes yesterday. I'm going to come in and get a tour and meet people and check out the weight room in a week or two when school gets back in session. But Cody's a real one. Thank you, Cody. Looking forward to working with you. This is my brother. This is my older brother, James. He's an academic assistant principal. Something high up at Punahou. Is a really, really great school, high school, K through 12 school out in Honolulu. And he's the one who put me on to the certification, strength and conditioning specialist. And he's been he's been listening to me for a while. He's been a mentor ever since I came out the womb from the same mom. So love you, bro. Yeah, Punahou. And so these are his kids, his wife, and Charlie and Will, and they listen. Charlie's doing this right now. He told me the other day that he had like a LeBron James style chase down block where he like smacked the ball off the backboard. He plays water polo and basketball, and he was doing some ATG stuff and some things I've been telling him. He's not even doing the 1.0 stuff, and he's already like seeing results in his how he uses his body. So yeah, man. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Will. Thank you, James. Thank you, Malia. Love you all. All right, this is my boy. I have not met him. I hope I get to. GP2, Gary Payton, second. Playing for the Warriors now. True underdog story. Grew up in the, with the name of the glove, Gary Payton, and, did kind of the junior college, transfer to Oregon State, played everywhere, here, there, and now he's in the league, and he's blowing up. He's crushing. I mean, he's getting minutes, real minutes, on a team that, we're winning it this year. I'm just saying. Oakland. And he did this in a game. This guy has silly hops. Sticky D, silly hops. He made Clay do this and he does this all the time. He's a freak. So I had to get the jersey, right? And you know what this jersey is going to? This jersey is going to Charlie, because this dude came from not a whole lot, and he can jump to the gym now, and he plays in the league. And everybody needs to remember to dream big. Dream big. Dream big. I'm dreaming big. All right, check-in time. What I've been up to over 3 weeks and a couple days. I have lost 7.2 pounds without doing any cardio or any sort of, I've not done cardio until just 3 days ago. I got a membership at Core Power Yoga, $20, unlimited classes. I highly recommend to supplement this regimen with yoga, however you want to do it. This is the cheapest option with all the stuff. I'm learning a ton of things. But that was just 3 days ago. So this has not had much impact long term, but it will. So down 7 pounds, down 1.7% body fat. Visceral fat's going down too. So here's just trends of the weight. I mean, we're just. So I would attribute the first bit to just my diet changing, just because I'm unlocking my hips. That's right where your parasympathetic nervous system ganglion are. The pelvis is important. I think just by getting your pelvis right, you get your diet right. Honestly, you get your bowels right. It's all right there. It's your second brain. Your gut has more nerve endings than any other part of your body. So, brain, gut, hip, pelvis. That's where it's at. Here's the sexy bod pic from this morning. Tighten up. Oh, I forgot to mention. In my second Core Power Yoga class, I basically have the range of motion that is equivalent to or greater than the 2 yoga classes yoga classes I've been to so far. The second yoga class I went to, I have not been doing yoga. Like, I've been a resident, just miserable, not taking care of my body, couldn't touch my toes. Like, this was, 2 months ago, couldn't touch my toes, right? The yoga instructor told me that I should teach yoga at Core Power Yoga. So I'm going to be doing a training course in February at Core Power Yoga, because this regimen, like I've been saying, is so foundational that you can get into being a professional yoga person in 3 weeks. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm doing. So, lotus flower. This is what it is, man. Murky waters, you can bloom. It's the best analogy. Thank you, Buddhism. I took this picture at Goat Rock, Sonoma Coast, and where we are is in this cloudiness, right? That sunrise, where that clearness is, that's 2022. We are going to flip this whole thing this year. I'm not talking about just the body. I'm talking about the whole thing, all this trash, flipping the whole thing. Come with me. Let's do it. I'm going to leave you all with this. Thanks for listening. Love you all. Have a great New Year's.